respected dignitaries on the dais, Shri Sanjay Kumar Agarwal sir, member CBIC, Shri Ramchandra Sankla sir, Chief Commissioner, Central GST and Customs, Nagpur Zone, Shri Manish Mishra sir, Deputy Director, senior officers, and all the taxpayers, members of the tax bodies who are present with us today. I, Avinash Pandey, welcome you all in this interactive session. Today, we are gathered here as part of the initiative by CBIC to reach out to all the stakeholders of GST at the grassroots level, to address their queries and concerns, and to obtain a feedback on the framework and implementation of GST as we enter into the 7th year of its implementation. It is to make sure that the GST is more robust and efficient taxation architecture, enabling the ease of doing trade and business and making sure that the integrity of supply chain infrastructure is maintained. GST has been a formidable engine of revenue generation even during times of distress. Honorable Member Shri Sanjay Kumar Agarwal sir has graciously taken this initiative to interact with the taxpayers, tax professionals, and members of the trade and industry bodies. This program is in line of that initiative to provide a platform of interactive session with member CBIC.
Well, it is said that all big things start with a sound. And on 30th June and 1st July 2017, this GST was started when Honorable Prime Minister put the sound of the big bell. And later on, he went on to say that GST also means good and simple tax. To be a good and simple tax, you need 3 and 4 attributes. It should be consistent, it should be predictable, and easy to understand and easy to implement. So, 2017 onwards, to achieve this aim of good and simple tax, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs has been doing a lot of things, and one of such things is going to the door of the assessee, GST Aapke Dwar, to interact with the taxpayers, to know their problems one-to-one, and then deliberate on them, and then provide the suitable solutions. Sir, Honorable FM recently said this is also a Jan Bhagidari. When we facilitate the taxpayer, actually we are serving the nations. So this is also a service to the nation. And by this Jan Bhagidari, this interactive sessions, I am very sure that the issues being faced by the trade will be raised here and suitably addressed by the Honorable Member.
I am happy to be part of today's interactive session with the stakeholders in the GST ecosystem today. In a recent review meeting held by the Honorable Finance Minister, she has given directions to CBIC to hold such interactive sessions with the trade to know their issues and suggestions. Before we start this session, I would like to briefly say that now 6 years of rollout of GST has passed to bring a uniform indirect tax system in the country. And with that historic moment on 1st July 2017, when GST was rolled out, the dream of one nation, one tax, one market was realized. It was not an easy task in a federal setup of governance. This could have been achieved with setup of a constitutional body known by the name GST Council. The GST Council has met so far 49 times to look into the issues related to GST. And the 50th meeting of the GST Council is going to be held shortly in this month. This shows the dynamism with which the government is eager to resolve the issues related to GST in a cooperative federalist approach. There is no doubt that GST has brought a paradigm shift in the manner in which indirect taxes are collected from the businesses in our country. GST has made the movement of goods across the states borderless for tax purposes. And to keep the thing simple for interstate movement and for accounting purpose, integrated GST was brought in the framework of GST, and which in itself is a unique concept all over the world. And as it is expected from any modern tax administration, facility of filing all the applications and returns online has been provided in GST through GSTN portal, that common portal. And the communication from the department are sent to the stakeholders through email most of the times, and other communications bear DIN number, so that the authenticity of the communication can be checked by the receiver. The refund on exports have become simple, very simple, and done in a seamless manner, even without filing any application for that purpose, by considering the shipping bill as the deemed application once the export has taken place. And the IGST which is paid at the time of import is also given as ITC in a seamless manner. And all this has led to the growth of taxpayers in GST, and the number has more than doubled. At the time of introduction of GST, there were 64 lakh taxpayers, and the number has gone up to 1.4 crore taxpayers now. Initially, it was thought that in the GST, the ITC would flow by a cross-checking between buyers and suppliers' filings. However, this self-policing approach could not be introduced, as this would have put a lot of compliance burden on the taxpayers in the initial stages. And therefore, a simplified return filing in the form of GST 3B was introduced. However, the simplified system posed another type of challenge, as so many unscrupulous elements entered in the GST ecosystem to seed fake ITC, and which even lured the genuine businesses in their evil design. And this started the struggle for the tax administration how to weed out such fake entities from the GST ecosystem to make it pure again. And for that purpose, various drives have been launched by the department to take out these entities from the GST ecosystem. And as the GST or the revenues are collected by the government to run the country, to feed or fuel the infrastructure development, and to maintain the sovereignty of the nation. So any leakage in the revenue has to be dealt with complete resolve. And in my interaction with businesses from time to time, I have found that there is an innate desire in the businesses to be compliant. However, sometimes circumstances and sometimes the greed led to non-compliant behavior. Here the role of tax administrations come into play to ensure that system is so designed that it leaves little or no scope for manipulating the system. If we keep the process or design so porous, on the face of such design will appear to be taxpayer friendly, but it would lead to graver consequences as subsequent enforcement actions are more intrusive in nature. And these the genuine businesses are realizing now. And to make the whole ecosystem secure by design, certain validations are required to be introduced in the framework, which precisely the government is doing now. And in that line, Restriction has been made on the filing of GSTR 1 if the taxpayer fails to furnish the GSTR 3B return of the preceding period. And amendments have been made to limit the ITC availment to the extent the details of such supply has been furnished by the suppliers in their GST1 filing. And that will automatically appear in the auto-generated GSTR 2B return. And to encourage self-discipline and self-compliance by the taxpayers, provisions have been made for intimation of the difference in liability of GST1 and GST 3B for a tax period to the taxpayer on the common portal, that is on GSTN, for enabling the taxpayer to either pay the differential duty or explain the difference. And as I mentioned earlier also, to weed out the fake entities from the GST ecosystem, and a special drive has been launched from 16th of May for the period of 2 months in a coordinated manner by central and GST tax administrations, and that drive has yielded very good results. Lot of fake entities have been identified. Their registrations have been either suspended or cancelled, and the ITC available in the books have been blocked, and certain recoveries have also been made. And at this juncture, I would pause to say that taxpayers have positively responded to all such measures which have been taken by the government in this direction. And the compliance level of timely filing of the returns has improved significantly. And the growth in GST revenue from year to year is testimony of the increased compliance level by the taxpayers. And for ease of doing business, especially the MSME sector, schemes like composition levy and QRMP has been introduced, and so far 44 lakh taxpayers are availing the benefit of QRMP scheme. And with these words, and without taking more time, I conclude, and eager to hear the issues and suggestions from the distinguished members of the trade and industry and other stakeholders. And I would like to add that during our conversation in this interactive session, we may be responding in accordance with the present legal position. But that does not mean that suggestions which are made during the interactive session will not be kept in mind for any future intervention in law, for simplification and for ease of doing business, and bringing before GST Council for their consideration. With these words, I thank the participants for coming in such large numbers and participating in this interactive session in a very enthusiastic manner and bringing before us the suggestions and issues which I am sure would bring a lot of clarity about the issues which are being faced by the stakeholders in their day-to-day working, and we will look into that. Thank you.
Interactive session. We have duly recorded your queries and submission, which are diverse, and I will be taking them one by one. I will read out the name of the taxpayer, and they may kindly identify themselves with a show of hand, post which I will be asking the question to the member, sir. Yes. The question pertains to mismatch of 2A2B data, department's 2A2B data, and GSTIN portal data of taxpayer. His query is that those two data points do not match.
2A is a dynamic auto-populated return.
Yes, sir.
And whereas 2B is a static return, where up to a certain date, invoices filed by the suppliers are considered for generation. So therefore, there will be always difference between 2A and 2B. And 2B is taken as the IT, as the auto-populated return, on the basis of which it will be determined that what ITC is available in a particular month for taxpayer to use.
This has been asked by RC Plasto Tanks and Pipes Private Limited and Ultratech Cement. Their query is IGST amount paid against custom duty and SEZ import do not reflect in GSTR 2B. The same has to be fetched from GST site.
Similarly, the duty paid for SEZ clearances is also getting reflected because that data is fetched from SEZ online system and populated in GSTR 2B. So please recheck the position. There may be few instances where it may not be reflected, maybe because of some technical glitch. So there it may have to be fetched from IceGate. But other than that, it gets reflected in 2B return.
The question is, while taking registration, it is taking time, and registered rent agreement is also asked for 11th month's tenure.
Maybe an individual instance that can be raised in the jurisdiction or in the commissionerate. However, as far as it is not related to portal or law, and in general it is not noticed. However, you may take up the issue with commissionerate. It doesn't seem a stuck issue.
Thank you, sir.
To, I would like to add to what my colleague has said, that as mentioned in my address, there are now a lot of fake entities which are entering in the GST ecosystem and polluting it. And that is creating not problem for genuine businesses also, because the credit is passed on to them and subsequently they also face the inquiries from the department. And as I mentioned, that to stop the entry of such fake entities in the ecosystem, now field is very cautious to seek the documents which are necessary to ensure that it is a genuine business, and therefore certain type of like rent agreement etc. are being asked, and field is insisting for furnishing of such documents. Therefore, it is in the interest of everyone that we furnish the documents which are required for verification of the premises, and therefore such fake entities and such persons were there just to create fake entities and then subsequently pass on fake ITC are not allowed to enter in the ecosystem.
The next query is a common query from Paradeep Phosphate Limited and MP Birla Group. Yes, thank you. I will ask on your behalf. Thank you. They're facing a problem while applying for new additional place in GST portal. They are uploading the rent agreement copy, but as per them, GST department is rejecting their application because those rent agreement attachment is not being shown in the GST officer's dashboard. They say that without them uploading all the rent agreement, the GST portal will not take it. Also, while applying for the grievance redressal, their grievance is not getting redressed, even though ticket has been raised multiple times.
It's not a general problem in a particular situation where the document uploaded by the taxpayer is not visible to the officer. So in that case, taxpayer and officer both can raise the ticket, and taxpayer can pursue officer, because when officer raises a ticket, they can pursue it with the GSTN. So GSTN will resolve the ticket, and it is not a major problem. It may be a technical glitch that a document uploaded is not visible to the officer. But these days, this is not very common. This used to happen 3 years, 4 years ago. Now it may be an individual glitch that can be resolved. Officer raised by ticket and then pursued with GSTN can solve the problem.
Expansion of tax network. With petroleum outside the ambit of GST, a large part of the economy is still outside the tax net. A lot is expected out of the exercise currently being undertaken by the group of ministers set up by the council.
This issue is deliberated also, like when and it may be taken up. So it can only be done as per the recommendation of GST Council, the highest body which recommend for any change in GST. So in the due course, as the council decides, then only it can be done.
In taxation, we have to put certain time limits to maintain discipline, because in indirect taxes, it is not a there is not a single player like in direct taxes. You have to discharge your liabilities, but in direct tax, there are two players. One is buyer, one is supplier. So so discipline has to be maintained in such a manner that filing by one has impact on other. So If we don't maintain these timelines, then the entire system will collapse. So therefore, time limits have been set, and as my colleague has mentioned that earlier the date was 30th September, which has already been extended by 2 months to 30th of November of the next financial year. So there is enough time given for taking care of late filings, but it cannot be extended indefinitely.
73, 74 are two differently worded, and both the sections operate in different area. 74 जहाँ फ्रॉड वगैरह वगैरह होते हैं इस तरह के करके,
Yes, sir.
तो वहाँ पर अलग पीनल प्रोविजंस रखे गए हुए हैं. जहाँ पर एक सिंपली मिस्टेक हो गई वो 73 में वहाँ के पीनल प्रोविजंस अलग हैं. तो दोनों अलग अलग एरिया में ऑपरेट करेंगे तो उसी हिसाब से चलेगा वो तो.
नहीं नहीं सर, इशू इज दिस कि सिंपल.
We understood your issue that if there is a difference and between the two, then normally a section 73 notice should be issued.
Thank you.
So in case section 74 notice has issued, still an order can be passed that confirming the liability and interest without imposing penalty. So is there any provision to change it from 74 to 73 in adjudication proceeding? I think something is there.
Sir, some instances may be highlighted. For example, if we get the representation that in these issues, it prima facie very clear that it is by mistake and no intent to evade. So then we can come up with a guideline that if these are the cases, it may be considered that. However, we have to add around to case basis because jurisdictional officer is in the best position to assess that what the situation looks like.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, please make a detailed representation.
thank you, sir.
Outreach and facilitations are continuous process for which trade seek and department also want to basically dispose in the maximum manner. And accordance to that, this session was really a very lively, energetic, dynamic, and fruitful session. And really it's a matter of great honor for me to present vote of thanks to this august gathering. On behalf of my team members and the entire Nagpur CGST Central Excise and Customs Zone, I want to wholeheartedly and devoutly extend a very special thanks and gratitude to our esteemed chief guest, Sri Sanjay Agarwal, member, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, who has graced the occasion with his distinguished presence and answered all the questions. Of course, all the problems can not be resolved in one session, but the way sir has handled it is really must have basically satisfied a lot of queries. And as far as department is concerned, sir, you really motivated us to basically, take a leaf from this approach, and we will also try to basically continue this process of outreaching to the trade and continue the process. Sir, thanks a lot for giving us your precious time in your busy schedule. It really means a lot for us. Your presence has added a special charm to the event. I also want to take this opportunity to convey a very earnest and warm thanks to our Chief Commissioner, Nagpur Zone, Sri Ramchandra Sankra. Sir, organizing this event was truly impossible without your able guidance and motivation. You really motivated us to give our best. Also, extend a heartfelt thanks to DD Policy Wing, Shri Manish Dev Mishra, who supported the entire session with much needed technical inputs. I also want to say from bottom of my heart a sincere thanks to all the taxpayers and their representatives. Also a very special thanks to all the manufacturers and industrial association, small scale industries and agricultural associations, Chamber of Commerce, trade associations, real estate association, professionals association, bar council, and all other associations who along with taxpayers not only enhanced the elegance of the event, but made its success by posing very relevant, divergent, sharp, and problem-solving questions. My heartfelt gratitude also goes out to all the officers of CGST at different levels and in different task committees who actively contributed to make this event successful. I know that they left no stone unturned and therefore they deserve a special mention. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to the staff of this venue and other sports service providers who have very professionally and proficiently ensured wonderful hospitality and uninterrupted services. This vote of thanks cannot be concluded without extending my sincere and profound thanks to the representatives of the electronic and print media. Thanks a lot to all. Thank you very much.
पीछे एक रिव्यू मीटिंग करी थी सीबीआईसी के साथ में, और उसमें उन्होंने सीबीआईसी को डायरेक्शंस दी कि हम देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों में जाकर ट्रेड के साथ में इंटरेक्ट करें और उनकी समस्याओं को सुने, उनके सजेशंस को सुने और कुछ जो मुद्दे लोकल मुद्दे हैं उसके बारे में जानकारी लें। तो उसी की उनके दिशा निर्देशों के हिसाब से बोर्ड से हम जो मेंबर्स सीबीआईसी मेंबर्स हैं वो डिफरेंट पार्ट्स में गए। मेरे कुलीग्स, एक कुलीग वहाँ बेंगलोर गए थे, एक कुलीग बॉम्बे गए, एक कुलीग आज गुवाहाटी गए हैं। तो इसी तरह से हमने डिफरेंट एरियाज़ में जाकर, डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ कंट्री में जाकर ट्रेड की समस्याओं को सुन रहे हैं, उनके सुझावों को ले रहे हैं ताकि उस पर विचार किया जा सके। इश्यूज़ पैन इंडिया लगभग एक ही, काफ़ी हद तक एक ही नेचर के हैं। इशू को हम 3 हिस्सों में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। कुछ इशूज़ प्योरली टेक्निकल टाइप के इश्यूज़ हैं जो कि जब वो हमारा आईटी प्लेटफॉर्म यूज़ करते हैं, चाहे वो जीएसटी यूज़ करते हैं, चाहे वो हमारी बैक एंड एप्लीकेशन से रिलेटेड है, तो वो इश्यूज़ मोर और लेस सिमिलर हैं, जिसके लिए हेल्प डेस्क ऑलरेडी वहाँ पर जीएसटी में, जिसमें वो इशू अपना लॉक कर सकते हैं, टिकट नंबर ले सकते हैं, उसका इशू का रिजोल्यूशन उसके थ्रू होता है। दूसरे इश्यूज़ ऐसे हैं कि जो प्रोसीजर से रिलेटेड हैं, प्रोसीजर्स में कुछ चेंजेस के सुझाव हमें मिले हैं, कुछ लॉ में चेंजेस के सुझाव मिले हैं। जो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट की जो चेन है उससे रिलेटेड कुछ सुझाव हैं और उससे रिलेटेड कुछ इशू हैं जो कि पैन इंडिया बेसिस में है। जैसे कि आपने इसमें इंटरेक्टिव सेशन में शायद सुना हो कि जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स जो आयरन स्टील सेक्टर में है, उनको स्क्रैप जब वो परचेज़ करते हैं तो उससे रिलेटेड आईटीसी से रिलेटेड इशू हैं, जिसमें काफ़ी फेक आईटीसी के केसेस बुक हुए हैं। तो उसके बारे में भी उनके कुछ सुझाव हैं और वो सुझावों पे सरकार में विचार हो रहा है। अल्टीमेटली ये इस पे जो फाइनल व्यू जीएसटी काउंसिल को लेना होगा। फेक आईटीसी के लिए सीड करने के लिए बहुत सारी फेक एंटिटीज़ क्रिएट की गई, जिसके बारे में एक स्पेशल ड्राइव भी चलाई जा रही है जो 16 मई से स्टार्ट हुई 2 महीने के लिए। उससे पहले भी डिपार्टमेंट ने नवंबर 2020 से एक ड्राइव चलाई थी फेक आईटीसी के अगेंस्ट में। फेक आईटीसी जनरेट करने के लिए पहले फेक एंटिटीज़ क्रिएट की जाती हैं। वो लोगों के जो आइडेंटिफिकेशन डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, जैसे आधार कार्ड, पैन कार्ड और फॉल्स और फोर्ज रेंट एग्रीमेंट्स के बेसिस पे वो फर्में क्रिएट की जाती हैं और फिर उन फर्मों के द्वारा फेक आईटीसी आगे सप्लाई चेन में पास ऑन किया जाता है। अल्टीमेटली वो जो जेन्युइन बिजनेसेस हैं वहाँ तक वो पहुँचता है और उस फेक आईटीसी को टैक्स डिस्चार्ज करने के लिए यूज़ किया जाता है। तो इससे सरकार के राजस्व की भी हानि होती है और एक जो नॉर्मल कंपटीशन होना चाहिए, एक जेन्युइन कंपटीशन, वो भी डिस्टर्ब होता है। जो नवंबर 2020 से जो सीबीआईसी के ऑफिसेस, जिसमें डीजीजीआई या अपना सेंट्रल जीएसटी जोन्स, उन्होंने अपना उसमें कई सारे केसेस बुक किए हैं, जिसका जो डेटा है अभी उसकी फिगर्स आपके पास में लेटेस्ट रिपोर्ट की हैं क्या? मेरे हिसाब से लगभग उसमें करीब 60,000 से 70,000 करोड़ के उसमें फेक आईटीसी डिटेक्ट हुई है और उसमें 750 के करीब मेरे ख्याल से अरेस्ट किए गए हैं। लेटेस्ट इसमें आपको इसमें ये एमनेस्टी स्कीम का मतलब है कि अगर आपके ऊपर कोई लाइबिलिटी दी गई है, जैसे कि अपना कोई पेनल्टी है, उसको वेव करने के लिए वो एमनेस्टी स्कीम में जाता है। इसके लिए लॉ में अमेंडमेंट लेके आने की ज़रूरत होगी, क्योंकि जो उसमें 1 मंथ का जो कंडोनेशन के लिए जो प्रोविज़न है उसको चेंज करने की ज़रूरत होगी। तो और उसको रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट देना होगा, पास पीरियड की भी अपील्स को कंसिडर करना है, पास पीरियड के लिए केसेस को भी कंसिडर करना है। तो ये तो जीएसटी काउंसिल के पास में अगर ये मुद्दा जाता है तो उन्हीं को इस पर डिसीजन लेना होगा। आप भी देख रहे हैं कि बढ़ोतरी हो रही है, कंप्लायंस लेवल बढ़ रहे हैं। तो हमारा ये मानना है कि फेक आईटीसी के ऊपर एक अंकुश लगा है। मेरा जब इंटरेक्शन ट्रेड के साथ में होता है तो लोग बताते हैं कि यस, अभी लोग उसको अवॉइड करते हैं। इसमें पूरे इंडिया में केसेस बने हैं, लेकिन इसका जो हमने जो नोटिस किया है, इसका काफ़ी बड़ा कंसंट्रेशन एनसीआर रीजन में है, दिल्ली और उसके आसपास। लेकिन उसके अलावा गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, तमिलनाडु, इन स्टेट्स में भी काफ़ी केसेस इसके ऊपर बुक हुए हैं।